Hello, and welcome along to the stream tonight. So, this stream is the first one I've done for a little over a week. The reason that I didn't do a stream last week, or two streams last week, is because I was out at the... Hello, Kim. How's it going? I was out at the Microsoft Ignite conference in Orlando, and it was quite hot. So I've come back to a much more natural temperature here in Scotland, but it was quite warm over in Orlando. I had a really good week. It was very busy. We had lots of people coming past the Chocolatey booth, speaking to lots of people about Chocolatey and how it works and how they can use it. So that was good. I was very tired by the end of it, so I was happy to get home. So, in terms of what I'm going to be looking at tonight, so I have a project on GitHub called GitReleaseManager. It's a tool that I've used for forever, right? It's essentially what it's trying to do is provide a mechanism to control this section of GitHub. So in here, if I look at the releases section on GitHub for GitReleaseManager, then GitReleaseManager uses itself to create these set of release notes. And it also uses GitReleaseManager for controlling this asset section that gets added here. So basically what it's attempting to do is it is attempting to create a set of release notes for what's gone into this release. So we'll see here that in the 0.80 release, there were some bugs created, there were some features, there were some improvements. And the way that it works is it will look at a milestone that's been created. So if we go back and look at the 0.80 milestone, then we'll see that there were 8 closed issues here. Each of these issues has a label associated with it. And as a result of the issue being added to the milestone, the issue being closed, and then the issue being tagged with one of a configurable list of labels, then the end result is that it will generate a set of release notes. And those release notes is something that you can then add into the releases section of GitHub for the project, or you can actually download or you can export that set of release notes into a markdown file that you can deploy somewhere else. So it's quite a useful tool, or rather I think it's a rather useful tool. It's a tool that is embedded into Cake Recipe. So those of you who are familiar with Cake Recipe, it utilizes GitReleaseManager in terms of both creating a set of release notes, publishing a release, adding assets to a release, and then finally closing the release and the associated milestone when the release is finished. Right? So I like to think it has some use. An interesting thing that I saw the other day, or literally not I'm saying the other day, the other interesting thing that I saw today was that if I search here for GitReleaseManager, that's not going to work because I didn't spell it right. If I put an A in there, then GitReleaseManager has reasonably recently been added as a .NET Global tool. And that work was done by Arthur. He converted GitReleaseManager to be also a .NET Global tool. And it's been downloaded quite a lot. I didn't realize how much it had been downloaded. It's got like 34,000 downloads. When if you look at GitReleaseManager itself, which I think is this one, then it's at 73,000 downloads. So it's and it's been around for a lot longer. So this package has been around for over 3 years, whereas this one's really only been around for a year or so. And yeah, it's doing quite well. So I didn't realize how many people were actually using it. So the reason that I thought I'd look at this is because a couple of pull requests have come in that I think would be good to get added into the project and get released. And the other part of it is it's just been a long time since I've looked at this code base. So it would be good to get in here and get these pull requests updated. Now, I did make some changes to the project this morning because I noticed that there were some inconsistencies with the documentation. So typically the projects that I build are all now using YAM for the documentation. Now, because this is an older project, absolutely get myself updated on the code base because it has been a while since I've looked at it, Kim. Because this is an older project, it's kind of gone through a number of iterations in terms of documentation. The first one was I was using read the docs for the first incarnation of this. I was then using README to do it, and then now I've kind of standardized on using YAM for self-hosting that documentation on GitHub Pages. Now, I came in here this morning, or last night this morning, and I noticed that I was still, even though in the code base I was trying to use YAM, it simply put, it wasn't. So I did some refactoring this morning, and it's now correctly using that. So if we look at the docs now, it is now generating the docs, and it is publishing it. So I got that up to date. There's some documentation here in terms of how you can do some configuration, how you can use the commands that it uses, and how you can get it installed. I included some additional information on how you can get it installed using .NET Global Tool. So it's coming together. So I'm happier now with the documentation than I was this morning. So that's good. But the pull requests in question, there are three main ones. Question on the chat there from Brett. Have you seen the docfx generator that docs.microsoft uses? I have, yes. I haven't used it. I'll be honest, I haven't used it. My understanding is that if you wanted to replicate exactly what docs.microsoft.com does, it's not just as simple as using docfx. There are a bunch of other parts of the pipeline that you kind of have to stitch together to get it to that point. I'm not saying that that's impossible. I just prefer using YAM because, one, I understand how it works, roughly, and I also know the maintainer quite well. So if I go over here and I look at YAM.io and we look in here to see who's actually behind it, then the main person behind it is this guy, Dave Glick. And Dave is also part of the Cake project. So basically, whenever there's anything wrong in YAM, I can just go and bug Dave and get him to fix it, as opposed to using something that I haven't got as much of a direct line of sight into the project as I do here. So that's kind of why I use it. I really do quite like it. YAM now runs cross-platform using .NET Core, and it works really well. So that is what I'm using to generate this. You get a very clean user interface out the box that is behind the scenes. It's just Markdown, really. So it's really just sticking Markdown files into a folder, and you get all the goodness of this. Oh, there's something wrong there. That's maybe my formatting. I'll need to fix that. That's going to bug me now. Hold on. Let's see what's wrong with that. Hold on. I see myself going off on a tangent already. Here we go. What was it called? Example release notes. Example release. Example release notes. What was I doing in here? Just looking for a PNG that I've moved it. I moved it. Fairly sure that this doesn't exist here anymore. Let's have a look. I think I moved it. I'm going to have to go and fix that now. Let's go and check. I moved that as I was moving everything else, didn't I? That's a 404 not found. How do I? So I think I moved it into docs, input, docs. There's a reason I did that, and then images. So in there, I've then got, what was it called? example release notes. It's there. Okay, so the path's changed. So that is no longer docs, it's docs. Let's just verify that. It's docs /input/docs. There we go. Okay, I'm going to have to go fix that now. Another reason to use a hash when referencing. Oh. Yes, I don't disagree with that as well. So for those of you who don't know, what Kim's referring to there is a CDN caching effectively of the images. So if I had used a CDN cache such as JS Deliver or GitHack or once upon a time rawgit, and I had used a commit hash in the URL, then that will never change because assuming the history doesn't get rewritten, but even then it will still be cached on their server. The path wouldn't change because it was tied to the commit that's associated with. So Kim is absolutely correct, but I'm not away to go and fix that right now. What I will do instead is I might have a wee search here for PNG and see if there are any other broken images. And if there are, I'm going to fix them. So docs, input, docs, images. So that's that one. Docs, input, docs, images. And then docs, input, docs, images. Perfect. So I'm just going to commit that just now and say doc fix URLs to images. These were moved as part of the refactoring. And the links are broken. And then we'll say, as Kim suggested on the stream, these should be cached and associated with a commit hash. Let's go back to here, I think. Boom, commit that. Yes. The question, by the way, ain't those images being copied along with the generated document? In which case you could also use relative URLs, right? I probably could. You know what? We'll test it. We'll test that theory. I think we should test that theory. So let's go back here, and then I'll answer Brett's question. So let's go and do build target equals preview. So this is the other kind of nice thing about YAM. Other documentation generators do this, but YAM allows for previewing of the website. So if you run a build using YAM, you can pass in a preview flag, and then it will sit and watch for any changes in the repository, and then it will rebuild on the fly to generate the website that you're viewing. So you can kind of do quite a fast iteration cycle in terms of making changes, seeing the result, making changes, seeing the result, and so on. Short answer is, Brett, it was great. It really was. It was huge. I don't know if anyone has been to a Microsoft Ignite style conference, but there was like 25,000 people there, and that was just massive. Most conferences I'd been to before that capped out at about, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 folks at a push. So it was a bit of a big jump to go to 25,000. So it was just mental. The venue was huge. I was absolutely knackered by the end of it. I'll be honest. It was a long week. I was happy to get home. I registered for London and all the Twitter excitement. Oh, for NDC London? Or for another one? I'm not following your train of thought there, Brett. It's NDC London we're talking about. Scene I mentioned today by Anna. Oh, the London Night Tour. I see. Gotcha. Yeah, it'll be good fun. I'm sure it'll be good fun. Oh, really? It was 29k. I mean, 25 was a number that I'd heard bandied about, but it could well have been more. It boggles the mind as to the logistics of how people are able to organize all the meals and the logistics in terms of the buses going backwards and forwards between the hotels and that. It's just mind-boggling. But definitely worthwhile. If you get a chance to go, I would recommend it. So I'm going to grab this URL here, and I'm going to load this up here. So what we've got here is a local version of the website. So if we go to the page that had the broken link in it, which was the create configuration, so if we go down in here, and here, it should now be there, which is this thing. But as Kim pointed out, if we look again for those PNGs that we had, then in theory, we should be able to take that off, and it'll just be that, I think. So if we save that, what we'll see is the pipeline being rebuilt. So it's now regenerating those pages on the fly. And if we go back to here, it's now broken again. So where does it think it's getting it from? Localhost, docs, configuration. That didn't work. What did you run there? Maybe need to go back up a level, do I? Let's have a look. So I've told it to go. So it's not from, it's from the root. Is that a tilde in this syntax? Or is that just going to be a forward slash? Let's give it a try with forward slash and see what. So it's going to rebuild that again because I hit save. And then when it comes back, it's still broken. So where did it think it went to there? That was going to be my next attempt. Okay. Docs, images. That's close. Docs, images. What is that? Configuration. GitReleaseManager. Oh, it's lost the GitReleaseManager. It's lost the URL. So let's try what Kim was suggesting. So we do ... docs. Yeah, I got there. I caught up with you, Kim. I got there eventually. The image seems a little bit big. Maybes. Remove the docs as well. Yeah, you're right. The resolution on the screen is not massive. So it looks okay, and I haven't created. I'll come back to a conversation I had on Twitter earlier today, and we might fix this. But for now, I'm just happy that it's using a relative one rather than another one. So let's leave it. Let's do the first optimization, shall we? And let's look at this one, which is going to be. Let's put ... in there. So the export configuration is this one. So we'll let it rebuild and do its thing. And then if we go into the export, it's now got that. Do you remember Chocolatey Gooey when it looked like that, Kim? Do you? It's beautiful. I think I need to update this screenshot. And the last one was this one. We'll do // and this is on chocolate. So I think that that was 0.13. That was 3 major releases or 3 minor releases of Chocolate GUI ago, but that was a while ago. And then there we go. Okay, so that's that. And let's commit those changes. Dot switch to relative image URLs. Okay. Oh, hold on. I just saw something that's going to bug me. Let's change that. So we changed that from a full-blown one to that one to there, and that one to there. Perfect. And then save. And then let's just say almost to that. You're saying you weren't even part of the Chocolate community when that version was released. It's been a while. I mean where was it? Let's go back. Those colors are amazing, right? That was probably one of the first attempts to switch to a full WPF implementation of Chocolate GUI. Fun times. But what this is trying to show is how the exported release notes from GitReleaseManager can be embedded within an application. So as part of the build process that Chocolate GUI goes through is that it generates release notes, it then downloads release notes, and then embeds them within the generated output that is the exe that Chocolate GUI creates. So it's trying to put all the release information into Chocolate GUI itself. And there's just an About tab that lists all of that stuff. So, okay, so I'm happy that that's been done. So what we're trying to achieve tonight is that there were 3 pull requests that went in. 2 are from Arthur, who's sometimes on the streams, and the other one is from Geert, who has started using GitReleaseManager for some of his build tools, for some of his builds. And he is looking to make a modification to... We'll come back to his one. So I'm going to start at the top, because the first one is to add support for .NET 3, .NET Core 3. Okay, let's get that right. So Arthur has suggested that we also compile for... so at the minute, the .NET Global tool works for .NET Core 2.1. He's suggesting that we also cross-compile for .NET Core 3. And I have no problem with that, but what I wanted to see for my own sanity was I wanted to look at the generated artifacts to see how that actually works. So if I go and have a look in here and look in the tools folder, then we'll see that we've got a .NET Core app 2.1 folder. And that's what ultimately gets packed into. So if we go back up here and look at the packages, and we look in the NuGet folder for the .NET Core, if I copy this and change the file extension to be zip, and we look inside this in the tools folder, then we'll see that there's a .NET Core app 2.1 folder, and in there it has the stuff in it, right? So that's how that NuGet package is made up. So what I'm curious is how it looks when we cross-compile for that additional .NET framework. Now, I've got a rough idea. I'm fairly sure I know exactly what's going to happen, but I also want to see it. So, don't I have 7-zip installed? So, hey Stevie. Stevie has just joined the stream. That's Stevie Coaster, also known as Cow Goes Moo. But that's a different story. Maybe a story for a different day. I'll let Stevie explain that one. Don't I have 7-zip? Okay, so hold on. I probably don't. Let me check. Do I have 7-zip? No, I don't. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so I've just rebuilt this machine because because I had to. Let's put it that way. So I've maybe missed some applications that I had on here. But if we go in here and we say install required applications, you'll see that I've updated this with the list of things that I've put on here. So no, I don't have 7-zip. So the license did indeed expire. But so I had to re-download the base Vagrant image that I'm using for this and recreate the VM. So I went back to the start basically, and I had to go through and make sure that I had everything installed that I want to have installed. Looks like I missed 7-zip. So 7 comes before A in the alphabet, right? So let's do Choco upgrade. Let's maybe just take the meta package rather than. Let's just see. So yes, I understand. 7-zip. And its dependency package. Let's see what it installs by default. Is the install one. Okay, so let's go in here, and I'm going to say 7-zip.install -y. No progress. And I'm going to say add 7-zip application. So the next time I build this, it will be there by default. And then, as a sanity check, let's copy paste that guy, but copy paste with the right Control-C because I'm coming from my Mac. So I'm doing maybes. I'm doing other stuff in there as well, Stevie. So there's more than just Choco upgrades. There's actually only one thing. There's currently one extension that I install for VS Code that's not wrapped in a chocolatey package, so I'm also having to install it manually. It's also got my list of instructions for the things that I haven't quite automated yet, so I need to get those things done. But this is just a Vagrant, so I'm doing this in my Vagrant file. So over here, I'm just shelling out to that there. So it could well be a gist as you correctly pointed out. But that should be installing 7-zip, which it did. And now when I come over here, there we go. Okay. So that's done. Where was I, Kim? I was doing something. Oh, I remember. I was looking at the pull request. So I want to see what this pull request actually changes. So if I go back over here and we do, so if I've got git, try that again. Git remote upstream type today. I've got an upstream. So if I do git fetch upstream and then pull 135's head, and I'm going to do that into a PR branch called PR135. And I do a git checkout. No, hold on. Ooh, that's a good test. Oh no, you see, it hasn't. I thought git extension. With this new build, I wondered if the latest git extensions would have autocomplete for the git switch command, but it doesn't. That's a bit unfortunate. If you can't create an extension for that, then there's always a. So it's on my list. It's on my growing list of things to do. I totally should put it into a package request though, because almost all of the extensions that I tend to use have got chocolatey packages for them now. So if we go back in here and have a little look at the ones that I actually make use of, install required applications, then a good portion of them have packages already. And it's such a simple package as well. It can be as complicated as you want it to be, but if it's just pulling it directly from the URL, it's literally a one-liner. It can get more complicated if you want to. It can get more complicated if you want to make it an embedded package where you're putting the v6 into the chocolate package. But I probably should do it at some point. Oh, so PoshKit doesn't support it yet. Okay, that's good to know. So it's not just me. Okay, so again, what was I doing? I've completely forgotten what I was doing. Oh, so many squirrels. Oh, I've just checked out that branch. I've switched that branch, and now let's do a rebase. Git rebase it on develop because I've made some changes. So that's pulled it up. And if we do a build here, I want to see what the output looks like. So that's going to go off and it's going to do its build. It's going to recreate it's going to build the application with that additional .NET Core target framework. And in the build artifacts folder, I'm expecting to see an additional folder sitting side by side with that .NET Core 2.1 for it to be .NET Core or .NET App 3.0. And then in the generated artifact, I expect the nupkeg to contain an additional side by side folder. So let's see what that does. So that's the build finished. So if we go in here and look at published artifacts and look at the tool application, right, so that's exactly what happened. But this one will be specifically have been compiled for .NET Core 3.0. And this one, went too far. This one will be specifically compiled for .NET Core 2.1. So far, so good. And then if we go up and look, or we'll have to wait for the final part of the build, or the next part of the build, to generate the NuGet package. And in that NuGet package, we should have that additional target framework moniker included in that NuGet package. That red text you can see behind you, that's working. Don't worry about it. I watched a bloke make a Turing machine and what? Why? Where were you watching that, Stevie? I need a link for that one. Oh, you've given me a link now. Copy to clipboard. Paste. Let's have a look. It's going to be an advert to start with, isn't it? Teamwork made easy. Let's watch Monday.com for 5 seconds. And then I'm going to click skip. Get impractical ideas in computer science. PowerPoint programming. My friend teaches a student taught course on esoteric programming language. What now? I feel I might have to go and watch that at some point. I might come back to that. I think I might come back to that later. Okay, so that's the build finished. So if we now look in the packages folder that was generated and we look at NuGet, and we do what Kim suggested last time, which was to open the archive, then in here we can look. So it's right there. It's right there. So that's good. I like that. Perfect. I'll take that link as well. Copy it clipboard. I'm going to put it on my other screen over here. And I'm going to press pause. I've got Monday.com again. I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to pause that for later. Right. Okay, so that's working as I pretty much expected it to be. So I'm going to say that is good. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to rebuild this PR so that I can merge it in. So what we'll do is we'll go over to Arthur's branch, which is here. And I'm going to say git remote add R tours tick. I'm going to paste that in there. Git checkout develop. Git fetch R tours. And then the branch he called it was this guy. Feature. I'm going to say git checkout. Did I do it again? Oh, I did. Git switch there. Git rebase develop. And then I'm going to say git push -f to our tour sec. Make sure that he's ticked the little box, which lets me do that, which it does. So I'm going to push that up to his branch, which should then start this PR building again, which it does. So if that works, I'll get that merged in. Hold on. It's because I haven't pushed them up yet. It's unfortunate. Don't really want them in his. I'll have to fix that. Git switch develop. Git push upstream. Let's fix this. Git push origin. And then git. I'm gonna get it. Git switch feature. What was it called? Feature /net core 3.0. Oh, I don't know about that, Stevie. I'm flying by the seat of my Git pants here. Git rebase on the develop branch again. And now we do. Let's just check. So there should only be. Oh, this is a new machine, so it needs a little bit of setup. And then I should only have one commit ahead now, which it does. Okay, so if we do git push -f to our tour sec again. That wouldn't have been. I don't think so, Kim. My Japanese is almost as good as my Norwegian. Yeah, and that's saying something. Why have I still got 3 commits in there? I don't want those 3 commits in there. Why is... I'm confused. Why is that doing that? Confused. No. Why? No, I'm not broken. I just need to figure out why that has got 3 commits on it. Because it shouldn't have 3 commits. I did all the pushing, right? So I did. Is that Mr. Dan Butt in the chat room there? Hi, and hello, and thank you for ImageBot. It's amazing. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about ImageBot, and that's why I tell everyone about it on Twitter. So, thank you very much for your work on it. I really do appreciate it. And let's see actually if this suggestion here works out as well. So you're suggesting if I change the base branch and then switch it back again, So let's switch to master. And let's switch it back again. See if that fixes things. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So that I wouldn't have thought to do that. That's a nice trick. I like that. Yeah, so anyone in the chat room who doesn't know what I'm referring to, I'm referring to this thing called image bot. It's a little bot on GitHub that you add to your repositories, and then as you add or modify or change any images in that repository, this little bot will monitor those pictures and it will make optimizations of those images and then send a pull request in to reduce the size of those images, but maintaining the clarity of the pictures. And it's entirely useful for keeping the images as small as possible. Yes, that thing, Stevie. It's amazing. So I use it on a number of my repositories, the most recent ones being a few of the talks that I've been giving. So if I go over to one of my talks repos and look at cake demos, and we'll see what ImageBot's been doing for us. So in here, for example, you get this PR created, and then it gives you details of what optimization it's done, how much savings it's made in terms of the size of the images that have been reduced, and it does it all automatically. It really does. It just sits in the background, monitors the images, and makes suggestions about how it can be improved, how those images can be reduced in size, but whilst maintaining the clarity of the picture. And it's amazing. It really is. Can't say enough good things about it. Really can't. So yeah, that's DanBut1 in the chat room is the person behind that. I feel I've been sidetracked again a little bit, but that was an amazing sidetrack. Yes, that's what I was doing. Dan also suggested that we switch the base branch so that the number of commits accurately reflects what we're doing here. So CI build has passed. The one commit is what Arthur has added in here, which is us including an additional target framework moniker for GitReleaseManager, which includes support for .NET Core 3. So I'm going to say that I want to go ahead and mark this as looks good for me. Now, the one thing that's kind of missing from this PR, which would have been nice to have had, would have been an issue that spoke about the issue, what Arthur was trying to achieve. My normal workflow is to have an issue created, have a discussion about it, and then create a PR into it. Now, Arthur hasn't done that, which is not ideal, but we can work around it. So in this scenario, I will just label, or I'll tag the PR directly. So this one is going to be this is a new feature that we're adding in. We're going to add it into the 09 milestone, and I'm going to say I've already done that, and then I'm going to say merge the pull request, and then the most important thing on any PR that you get into your open source projects is to say thank you. So I cheat a little bit here, but the sincerity is definitely there. I've got a little snippet that puts that in there, and then that lets me comment on it, and we're good to go. Okay, so that's that. So let's bring those changes down locally. So let's try and get this under my fingers. I'm going to go git switch to develop. I'm going to go git fetch from the upstream repo, upstream remote that I have. That's going to let me do a rebase on the upstream develop, which pulls that down locally, and then I'm going to push that up to my origin, which is there. Okay, and then we should have the ability to delete some branches. So I'm going to say git branch -d that PR branch that we had, because we don't need that. I'll have to shout at that one. Let's do a -d there, and then git branch -d on the feature branch, which shouldn't need to be shouted at. There we go. And then we're back to just my develop. Beautiful. Okay, so we can clear that out. Okay, so the other thing that Arthur did a PR for was to include the SHA-256 of any assets that we add into the release notes. Now, this is quite a clever little addition that I really quite like the sound of. So my understanding, just based on a very quick review of the code, is that if we were to go and look at, say, let's go and have a look at this one. Then we look at the release. Then in the release notes that GitReleaseManager generates, there is the concept of adding an asset to the release, right? Now, what Arthur has added is the addition of a SHA-256 hash of that asset that you added in, so that there's some what's the word I'm looking for? There is some traceability in terms of this is the asset that was created and attached to the repository, but here's the SHA-256 of that asset, so that when the user downloads it, they can then verify that the one they're getting is the one that they expect it to be. I think it's a great addition. Now, I want to see this one in action. So let's close up some of this stuff so that we can get back to a point. Because what I'll need to do is I'll need to use my fake repository to test this out. And agreed, Kim, since GitHub haven't added in that feature yet, this is kind of a workaround. But I had a very quick review of the code. So he has added some changes to some of the top level methods, but that's really because that additional information is needed for the purpose of what he's trying to achieve. So further down past all of those overloads that he's added in is he's now got an add assets SHA-256 method. So in there, what it's doing is that if there are any assets, create a new string builder from the current body of the release, and then append SHA-256 hashes of the release artifacts, and then for each asset, if the file exists, add in a kind of a new line with the hash or the dash file name, and then compute the SHA-256, and that's where he then has another method down here, which is to compute the SHA. Slight niggle there. That's just me personally, though. Maybe I don't like putting two usings back to back like that. I kind of want to have a open braces in there. So I'm surprised that passed style cop actually. Well, we're not running style cop in this project, are we? I should probably run style cop in this project. I'm probably going to need to change that, because that's not going to sit right with me. I'm going to have to add that in. But conceptually, I have no issues with this thing whatsoever. So what I want to do then is I want to pull this local and have a play with it, and then we'll see what the end result looks like, and then we'll verify that we're all happy with it, and go from there. So let me come back to that. Let me come back. So git switch to this branch, which is from our Turek, and then git rebase on develop. So let me grab what Dan's put in the chat room here, and we'll put this up here. And what I suspect is this is going to show me is the fact that there's no a using statement is available, declaration using declared. Yeah, so this is what I thought it was. I haven't got an issue. I haven't got a new. I have no issue with this new syntax. The slight problem that I have is some of the code bases that I work on still target .NET Framework 4. So I don't get to use these new syntax features. So I'm kind of still stuck mentally in an older time frame where some of these newer syntax just don't exist yet. So for all the way back to .NET Framework 4, I don't think so. I haven't looked to see if there is one. The other slight issue is that the project in question uses Nant to do the build as well, and the way it calls into MS Build is interesting, and I'm not sure if even with that NuGet support package whether it would still be able to do it or not. I genuinely don't know. So I recently had some pull requests into Chocolatey GUI, one of the other projects that I work on, and it had some of the newer C# syntax. And when I was reviewing the PR, it all looked great. You'll remember this was on the stream last time, Kim. And we had to go back and remove the newer syntax because it just wouldn't compile. I'm not really a fan of the new syntax here. Makes it that's kind of my argument as well. I'm all for being verbose in code, but there's certain things I still like to see with clear scoping of the methods and the arguments and the parameters and all that sort of stuff. And this is one of them. So I might have to go back and fix this, but I also just want to see it running initially, just to see if it does what I think it does. So I'm going to close that off, and we've checked this out. We're now at a point where we can run this. So let's run the build and see if it works, or see if it compiles correctly. And if it does, what I'm going to do is if I go over to github.com/ that's going to fail because I had the folder open. That's okay. In here, I should have a repository in amongst all of this stuff. Let's close it. I should delete some of these. I'm fairly sure I have a repository in here called fake. There we go. This is a repository that I use specifically for exercising GitReleaseManager, right? So if I go ahead and discard that draft version, then we should be in a position, if we look for milestones, we have an open milestone which is 012, that has one closed issue. So if I run GitReleaseManager against this repository, we can generate a set of release notes, and then if we add an asset to that release note, to that release, we should be able to see the resulting output. So it's just a mechanism to test it out for real, really. We could have it just generate the release notes itself, but I kind of like to see it's essentially a full integration test, all the way up to GitHub and back down again to make sure that everything's still working. Now, the one thing that I will have to do to facilitate all of that is to add in some of my credentials. So I'm going to have to go off stream to put those in and then see what happens. So, but let's just have a quick look to see how we can exercise GitReleaseManager for this task, and then we'll test it out and we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's wait for that to build. Okay, so that built. So if we have a look in the build artifacts folder again, in our temp folder, in our published applications, GitReleaseManager CLI, let's just go into this one. Then we should be able to play with this guy. So if we go into CD into, oh, not CD, let's just run it. Build artifacts, temp, published applications, git net45 GitReleaseManager.exe, and then we run it. So this is the UI of GitReleaseManager. We have all of these commands that it can do. In the case of what we're trying to do just now is we want to do the create command. And if we run that, it'll tell us all the things that we need. So in the case of this one, we can give it a list of paths to assets to include. So that's what we want to do. We want to give it a target commit, which is typically master, a milestone name, a name, input file path. That one we don't need. It's pre. We need to give it a username, a password, or a token. We'll probably end up giving it a token, and then an owner, repository, and so on. So essentially what we want to do is we want to build up a command that looks like we will do the owner, which is get13. The repository is the fake repository. I think I called it fake repository. Let's just check fake repository. And then we're going to need to give it a token. We'll come back to that because that's the part that I'll put in off screen. The name is going to be v0.1.2. I did that wrong again. And then the milestone is going to be v0.1.2. And then the target commit is going to be master. And then the assets is going to be a path to a file. So let's just grab a file that we can add as an asset. Would it make sense to do something that's not part of itself? So let's just go into C. What can I put up here that is not important? There is a file in here that we can use. I don't think has any sensitive information in it. If there is, I'm just a way to open it. So I really don't think there is anything in here. This is literally just a couple of PowerShell scripts. Oh, that's not the one I thought it was. Which is the one? Oh, it was my PowerShell profile that I was thinking of. So let's, yeah, that one's fine. There's nothing, maybe there is. I just want a file. Any file that's not super sensitive. You know what, let's just create one. New text file, test.txt, Bob. Okay. So this is going to be C temp / test.txt. Okay, so that's the command that I'm going to run. Now that's going to fail because I need to give it a username and password or a token, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that command again, but I'm going to go off screen and I'm going to put my password in and I'm going to see if it works, right? So give me 2 seconds and let me just open up this to start with. And then I'm going to pop this on. Hello, I'm back again. I took slightly longer than I thought it was going to. I apologize for that. I had to regenerate my token for some reason, and the one that I had didn't work. So I've regenerated one. But what we're seeing now is, so this is the addition that Arthur's made. So it's including test.txt, which is the asset that we added onto it, and it's also included the SHA-256 hash of that value of that file. So if we were to look at the, now what is it, get file hash, yeah, it is. And if we said algorithm SHA-256 and we said C, let's just a sanity check of this. If we did temp test.txt, then there we go. It's done. So that will work for all assets that are created with the release. And then you get a nice little output here, which is SHA-256 hashes of the release artifacts, which is what's included here. That looks good to me. So, thoughts in the chat room? Is there anything missing here? Or, oh, hold on. That should probably eventually need to be configurable. As in, to not include it if you didn't want it. Is that what you're referring to, Kim? Or what sort of configuration are you thinking about there? And if that is what you're thinking, would it be included by default? Or would it be something you had to opt out of? Would it be an opt-in or an opt-out? The place, the looks, etc. Okay, so let's do this then. As a first pass, I'm happy with this, with the exception of that curly bracket I'm going to need to go and fix. So what we'll need to do is we'll create a follow-up issue, which is to allow some configuration over this new section. But as it stands, I think this makes sense. So let's do this. Let's go and have a look at, let's open Visual Studio and we'll open up that project. So let's go and open a solution or project. And we will go ahead and go to C, GitHub, organizations, Git tools, GitReleaseManager, source. Let's go in here. So, can you do me a favor then, Kim? Can you show me how you prefer it to look? And then we'll have a discussion around that in terms of the look and feel. What would you? So you're saying specifically that you don't like it to be indented. Would you prefer it to just be the name and then the hash? Is that what you're saying? Oh, where did I go? It's over here. So yeah, this is currently what it is. If you could show me an example of what you prefer. Okay. So the name, hyphen, and then the hash. I can see how that would work. Let's do what I was going to say. Let's do what I was suggesting. I'm happy to merge this in with a fix, with a new issue that further enhances it. Name, tab, char, then the hash, in my opinion. Okay, I can see how that would work. Let's go here, and where was the code in question? The code in question was let's have a look let's start here. Let's start here and see if there was anything else that jumps out in the code base. Okay, so there's a couple of things. I need to fix that because you need to have a line after a closing curly bracket. It's like the rules. So I need to fix that. I need to fix that too. Var body. Oh, that's good. String builder. Var string builder. Blah blah blah. If it doesn't exist, we continue. Early exit. I like that. Get an early exit up here, which is good. And then there was a new method further down, which was to grab the cryptography information, which is where I'm going to need to put that in. And then I'm going to need to put a closing thing in there. Blah, blah, blah. Apparently wants to put a space in there too, but that's just, I'm just nitpicking now. Okay. The hash should also be inside an inline code element. As in the same as the file name? Okay. Similar to what he's got for the name at the minute. Because currently, when he's writing it out, yeah. So in here, it would just be including the backticks as well. I mean, we can do it. So, like I say, from a functionality point of view, I think this makes sense. I think we should do is we'll raise another issue, which is to follow up with this. And in that issue, we'll discuss the options, what we want to make configurable, and then we'll implement it within that issue. So this is really just a main minor style changes. And this is literally me just adding some curly brackets and a couple of spaces. So it's really just nitpicking, but let's put it in anyway. So that's that. And then what I want to do is I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab a screenshot of how it looks. And then, having made that change, if we do a git push -f to Arthur's branch again, then we should see that additional commit. Now, I wonder if we need to do that fix that Dan suggested in the last pull request as well. Come on, machine. So let's do a refresh here. Interesting. That one we didn't need to. Okay. So let's see if that CI completes, and then I'm going to label this one up as well. So this is going to be a feature. And let's add this to the milestone that is here. And then what we'll do is I'm going to grab, I can't do that here. That's annoying. Let me do GitHub.com. I'm going to do a little bit of work on my other machine. So you won't be able to see what I'm up to, but you'll see it in a second. And then GitHub.com/date repository. So here. It doesn't seem to click every time. Releases. And that's this. Expand that. And this. Copy, copy, copy. Let's go into this one, which is, come on, machine. This one. And do example of this. Preview that. There we go. And then comment. So I've just added a screenshot essentially of what that looks like, and then we'll raise an issue and we'll follow up with this once the CI build passes. And the last thing I wanted to do on tonight's stream was to look at the other PR that Geert raised, which is a slight modification on how GitReleaseManager currently works. So when GitReleaseManager creates an issue, and it creates a release, sorry, is that it uses the same, I forget which way around this is now, but it basically uses the same thing for what goes in both here and in here. Now, what Geert wanted to be able to do is he wanted to be able to provide a tag, essentially, in here, and then also provide an alternative bit of text that you could put in here. So rather than having it being the same all the time, which is the way that I typically done it, Geert wanted to be able to control both of those things as part of his creation of a release. So the dog fooding isn't allowed in this stream. What did I say? I've missed what I missed what you're referring to there. Go and help me out. So I'm gonna say that this is good. I'm gonna click merge on that, and we're gonna say Arthur. We're gonna say again PRT minus that. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're referring to your PR, which is the dog fooding of GitReleaseManager into the build process. You're referring to click on what? See, my mouse isn't working. I clicked on that. You're referring to this one. I'm not going to look at it, but I hadn't planned on doing it on this stream. In my head, I'd only mentally work through the three most recent PRs, and I need to come back to this one. This one was opened in 2017. It's almost 2.5 years old. This thing, I need to decide what I want to do with this. But that one's definitely a discussion for a different day. Your one, we might do it on Friday's stream. How about that, Kim? Let's maybe look at that one on Friday. For tonight, I want to look at this one, test it out, and then get it merged in if we can. But for now, what I was gonna do was I was gonna go to this one and grab that, and we shall add in a new issue, which is enhance support for including SHA-256 of files in release notes. As a follow-up to this PR, it would be good to add some additional configuration around how and when the SHAs get added to the release notes. For example, providing the ability to opt out of adding the SHAs, also in terms of how the SHAs are rendered. It was suggested that suggesting? It was suggested that perhaps this, so it would be star test.txt, 4 spaces for a tab, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's not going to have. So it was text.text. That's test.text. I'll get there eventually. And then if we go up here and grab this guy, copy, paste, close, see if that renders okay. Might be better than nested list. So if you have any other comments to add to that, Kim, then feel free to do that and add it to the issue. I'm going to put this in here. Now, the only thing to bear in mind is that in order to add additional configuration around whether the shards get added or not, that will mean a pull request into Cake, for example, where we exercise GitReleaseManager. So we'll need to add that additional property into the Cake alias so that we can call that from Cake. But that's not a problem. It's just an additional bit of work that we need to do. Okay, so let's get our branch updated. So git switch to develop, git fetch upstream, git rebase upstream develop, git push, I'll get there, git push origin. Okay, so the next PR that I wanted to look at was Geert's PR, which is this one. So let's get a remote added so that we can push into his. That's not where I wanted to go. Where did that not do what I wanted? Let's get a. That's really not doing. Oh, hold on. Oh, Geert, what are you doing? It's not an issue. So Geert is, so Git Tools is an organization that encompasses a few different tools, Git Release Notes, Git Release Manager, Git Version, and a couple other helper libraries. Geert is actually a member of that organization. So the reason that this was confusing me was that I sort of expected that this branch was coming from Geert's fork of the repository, but it's not. It's coming from the same repository, so we should be able to just switch to the local branch, which is this one. Switch to new branch, there we go, and then if we do a git rebase now on develop, we should be up to date. And then we want to look at what he's doing. So if we look at the issue that he created, which is here, I think he had a picture. Yes, he does. So he wants to be able to split the milestone or use both the milestone and the name. So having gone through it, what he found was that it's either one or the other. If you provide it both, I think it doesn't fail, but it will pick one that it thinks is the one that you want to use. So this PR was about the ability to separate those two. So what he's got is the release name is a new sub-option that is the sub-option that is the name. If string is not or null or empty the release name, then we revert to the milestone. So he's just, that's the same logic that was there before, I think. Then we're calling the release with the release name, but so that's the fallback. So that's the exact same as it was before, but when we create a release from a milestone, we're also including the release name where we were only including the milestone before. Then we pass it in, and then the new release is the tag name rather than the name. Interesting. So I think we should just give this a try. Right? So let's go back to our fake repository, which is here. And we see here that what happened when we created that release is that it created it with 012 for both the milestone, which is this guy, and the name here. So Geert wants the ability to specify a milestone and a name. So if I delete, I've just discarded that, and let's go ahead and build this sucker again. And then what I'll do is I will run the same command that I did before. So I'll go off stream just for a second again. I'll run the same command again, but I will attempt to give it a different name. So use the same milestone, but give it a name, and then we'll see what the generated release looks like. But while we're waiting for that to build, we can go to 132, which is the issue that Geert created. So this one is this one we can assign to the milestone, like we did before. This one is, I think this is a feature. Support both milestone and name. This is just a discussion about it. See, this is kind of why I like to have an open issue before a PR, so that there's a bit of discussion, backwards and forwards, seeing what we want to be able to do, and then an implementation. So Arthur kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but it's not a huge deal, but it's just a preference. I like a bit of conversation before there's any huge investment in time. I've been involved in a couple of PRs where an issue wasn't created, someone did a bunch of work, and then ultimately that change wasn't pulled in, much to their disgruntlement, but also, well, there wasn't much we could do about it because we didn't actually want what they were providing. But if they'd opened an issue to have a discussion about it, we would have told them that. So yeah, long story short, it can get you into trouble sometimes. So let's see what happens. Build, build, build. And getting there. What time is it? past. We're almost there. It's almost time for my bed. So while you're on, Kim, I guess we could have a quick look. We're not doing it tonight. I'm not saying we're going to do it tonight, but I'll just have a quick look and see what we actually did. Is it mainly a change to the cake script? I'm going to guess that it is. Recipe.cake. We've added in find runtime executable. Blah, blah, blah. Clear all action. Oh, hold on. Oh, I see what you're doing. Creating new ones. And then you've got a toolpath here. Yeah, you do. Look at that. Unable to use GitReleaseManager. So hold on. How is this gonna... Oh, I see. So the idea being that if the release of GitReleaseManager fails for one of these tasks, then something has broken in GitReleaseManager. So you want to halt the release at that point. Is that kind of what we're getting at? The only slight issue, though, is that it wouldn't prevent the publishing of the nupcakes. Because of the way that Cake Recipe is built, it will attempt all publishing tasks, which includes the generation of the release notes, unless you're overriding that as well. So it wouldn't prevent it. but I did open it because... Oh, no, no, I haven't... I don't get me wrong. I like the idea of it. I'm just wondering whether there's maybe a little bit more to do, which would be to actually prevent the release of the nutcakes if something goes wrong with one of these tasks. I wonder. Because the way that cake.recipe is built, as you'll know, is that it attempts all the publishing tasks, but then fails the overall build. If we implement what we've got here, if something goes wrong with GitReleaseManager and GitReleaseManager is broken, then the nutcakes would still go out the door. But at that point, we'd still have knowledge of it, so we could immediately create a hotfix and do some work. I just wonder whether there's maybe a little bit more we need to do. Let me mull that one over before Friday. I'll mull it over. Okay, so that's created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that same same GitReleaseManager execution, creating that 012 release in my fake repository, but I'm going to do it with a different name. So I'm going to use the same milestone, I'm going to use a different name, and I'm going to see what the generated release looks like. So bear with me a couple of minutes probably not a couple of minutes, but bear with me while I go off stream so you don't see what my token is, and we can go from there. Okay, I'm back. So I've just run it. I haven't checked it yet, but let's go over to our fake repository and refresh the page. Oh, look at that. So it has created the milestone, which is 012, but it's put this as a test into here. So this works. I'm trying to remember if Geert showed what he wanted to go into here. I thought he provided me an example of what he was trying to do. Effectively, what he wants to be able to do is he wants to put it is here. So he wants to use this as the milestone, but then he wants to include additional information into the title, which includes the full semantic version number in the release title. And the tag is going to be the short semver, just the major minor patch, essentially. So this makes sense. I think this works. So with that small change, it has added in the ability to put that text in there, and yeah, I'm good with that. So let me just have another quick sanity check of the files that you changed here. So previously, what we were passing in was just the milestone. But here we're saying if it's been given a name, use the name. But if the name isn't there, let's fall back to the milestone, which is what it was doing before. And then we're additionally passing in the release name, which is what is here, which has just been created. So we're still passing in the milestone and the release name. And then that one is then being used here alongside the milestone. And then when we create a new release, we are using the tag name in the name, which is the milestone, otherwise the name passing in there. Okay, this looks good to me. So I'm going to say approve. Looks good to me. Approve. I've just seen a note there, Kim, about if you can do that before Friday, that would be great. Are you around on Friday for the stream so that we can chat about it? Or what are your plans for Friday? So I'm going to go ahead and say merge, merge, merge. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that yet. Because I'm going to make sure that we do a git push -f to upstream. Because we've rebased this branch. But yeah, if you're around, that'd be great, and we can have a chat through it. So let's see if this passes CI. There's no reason that it shouldn't. So let's just do a sanity check of that. And I believe there might be some updates to the documentation. I'll need to do some updates to the documentation. But we have documentation now, so we can change it, which is good. We're a step ahead of where we were last night, this morning. And we should now also have pictures. Look at that. Pictures. I know what we should do before the end of this stream. We should add ImageBot onto this repository so that we can have it optimizing some images. I think that's the last thing that we're going to do. Assuming that the CI build passes, we will do that work. There's a boot. Totally what we're going to do. Have I got them here first? They're here, aren't they? I should show these on stream too. Hold on. So I haven't put them anywhere yet because I need to make a little bit of space. But I have where's my ImageBot sticker that came through the post. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. So there's a couple here, different ones. So they are going to take pride of place on the laptop when I need to shuffle some stickers around because I haven't quite got to the point. Just throwing everything about my desk now. I haven't quite got to the point of wanting to overlap stickers yet. I can't do it. They need to be kind of in line. So one of them's going to get sacrificed to the sticker gods in order to find the space for an ImageBot sticker, because it's going on there, but I just don't know which one's been sacrificed yet. That's a decision for a different day. It's such a great problem. If that's my only problem to have, I'm in a good position. But yeah, I haven't quite worked through yet which one's coming off. Or it might be the case of which one is the easiest one to come off, because some of them don't like coming off very easily. Where we get to? Let's have a look at this builds. So ci.appfair. Let's go to GitHub. Let's see where we are with some of these builds. And this is the one that I'm interested in. So put some of them on my main computer. Because what I used to do is, I haven't done it for a while, but before I was allowed to put it onto my laptop, I used to have these kind of Moleskine books, and I would put them all over the Moleskine books. But now I've been allowed to put them on my laptop. I haven't really been doing that on my Moleskine ones. Alright, so that completed. That went there. So I'm going to go ahead and approve and merge that. And we're going to say, Geert, thank you very much for your PR. Now I know that he's been waiting on this, so he'll be able to pull in the latest version from the myget feed. I'm going to go ahead and delete that branch on his behalf because it was created on the main repository. And then that should have already closed it because there was I forget what they're called, but it had the fixes notation in the link, so that one was done there. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so let's go and have a little look here and say ImageBot on GitHub. I'm going to go in let's do it. So I'm going to configure this bot. So I've already got this bot configured in a few repositories, but I'm going to put it onto a new one, which is going to be on here. And then I'm going to say, I don't own all of the repositories in the Git tools organization, so I'm not going to do on all of them, but I am going to put it on the GitReleaseManager one, if I can spell GitReleaseManager correctly. No, let's try that again. I'm going to put it on this one. So this is one that I directly own. So I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to go ahead and install it. I've not had a lot of luck with putting passwords onto the stream, so I'm going to go off stream just for a minute again while I put in my password. I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so password went in, and we came up, ImageBot is starting to work for you, and I suspect that before the end of the stream, we will have a PR into this repository, because there's a few images in this repository that haven't been optimized in any way, shape, or form. So I suspect that ImageBot will do its thing, and we'll have a new PR that then we can merge in. But yeah, I think that's it for tonight. I've got everything done that I wanted to achieve for tonight, which was good. We have a plan of attack for Friday, which is going to be. Oh, see, hold on. Let's just see what ImageBot's been up to. So this is a good example. So let's click on this. So ImageBot's done its thing. It has looked at all the image files that are in the repository. If we click on details, then we'll see that there are some hefty savings on a couple of images, over 50% reduction in size. This one hasn't had much come off it, but it's an SVG anyway, so there's little to be done there. But yeah, some hefty savings there, and I mean, to my eyes, I've never been able to see a difference between the two. So I'm always happy just to say, ImageBot, you know what, I trust you. One thing I will point out is that those stickers that I showed earlier, if you do want one, then there is a Google form that you can fill in. And Dan, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how many stickers he sends out. Like I say, I got a very nice envelope with 3 American stickers on it. So all the way from over there. I don't know how long it takes him to package them all up, but fair play to him. They arrived. I genuinely, when I clicked on this link, I didn't ever expect to get stickers to come through, but I did. So, like I say, fair play to you. It was a very nice thing to actually receive, so I do appreciate it. I said it at the start of the stream, or when you first came in, I've got nothing but good things to say about ImageBot. So I'm going to go ahead and say, looks good to me. I'm going to approve it. And it doesn't make much sense to wait for the CI build to pass, but we will. We'll wait for that CI to pass. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I got everything done that I wanted to get done today. So that's not normal for this Monday night stream, but we did. We've got a plan for Friday, which is to review Kim's PR, which is to dog food GitReleaseManager. So GitReleaseManager will use the latest build of itself to generate its own release notes, and then we'll kind of get an early warning report if something is broken. And that's about it. So if we can get, let me see, I was going to say if we can get that PR done, then we could look at getting a next release out. But I mean, it would be good to come to a decision about this PR here that's been kicking around. I might have to put some thought processes into that one to see if oh, hold on, copy. What's Kim got going on here? 136 enhance. Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely. We should. I have got it on the milestone, so I wouldn't have forgotten about it. We should give some thought to that one as well, and then I mean I should probably do some triaging of the issues that are in here as well to see. Oh, look at that! There already was that's. I should triage some of these issues, and oh, that's the other thing. I have a almost working refactoring of GitReleaseManager to also support GitLab. So at MVP Summit this year, I sat and I refactored GitReleaseManager to use more of the IOC container that it has to allow deciding on whether it's GitHub or whether it's GitLab. That scope of work needs to be looked at, so it would make sense to do that scope of work within the next release. So I might dig out that code and see if we can put that in play as well. And then add a logo. Why not? What's that one? I've done a logo, haven't I? Oh no, I remember what this was. This was for ASCII art. Yeah, we should have some ASCII art in Git. We probably don't need it, but so there's a few things. I should probably do some triaging of the issues, decide what we're attempting to get out for the next release, and set some targets for getting that done. But I think that's all I have for tonight. But let's see if that CI is finished, and then we'll just merge in there. It has finished. Let's go and get ImageBot's first PR into here done. So let's just go ahead and say merge that. And we know it's a bot, or rather, we know that he or she's a bot. But let's just put some thanks its way as well. There we go. Let's delete. Oh, it deleted it already. Even better. Okay, so that's all I have for tonight. I appreciate everyone coming along to the stream as always. Oh, hold on. Should we put that on there as well? Let's put that in and label it, because that is actually worthwhile. Okay, so that's all I have. I will be back on Friday lunchtime stream, so that's 12 p.m. GMT right now. So hopefully see some of you there. Thanks again for coming tonight. But with that, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to go to my bed. I think that's the plan of attack. So I'm going to click the button and say good night. Thank you very much.